So, what is a masyarakat sukuk? Masyarakat sukuk is a barrier or restricted security. It's Islamic instrument and have a long-term maturity, more than 1 year. Masyarakat sukuk has two different types that use, which are musyarakah and the sukuk. Musyarakah can be defined as a partnership agreement between two or more parties. Profit will divided based on agreement, while loss based on population in typical. All partnership in musyarakah must make contribution in the project. While sukuk is Islamic bond, masyarakat sukuk issued on per value and can be traded at the secondary market. So, what is the purpose issuing the masyarakat sukuk? First of all, is to get the funds in contribution of profit-based project by India government, like building, such as hospital, and for the fortificable projects. Next, masyarakat sukuk is as a tool of monetary policy by Central Bank of Iran. It's to reduce liquidity of value as well to control the inflation. Lastly, it's a replacement for bond at Iran because bond is non-Sharia based while sukuk is Sharia instrument based. How masyarakat sukuk at Iran is created? So, masyarakat sukuk at Iran can issue and create usual musyarakah principle by anyone that agree to contribute into the project. This can be government, businesses, public people, film, public and private institution. Issuer must get permission from central bank when issuing the sukuk. This is the flow how the masyarakat sukuk issuing at the Iran. Firstly, issuer make a musyarakah contract and request application of sukuk from Central Bank of Iran. Next, Central Bank of Iran permits the issuance and recommendates condition and schedule of sukuk offering based on stock market condition. After Central Bank permit issuer should announce the subject matter publicly through the media. Next, trustee awaiting regulation is selected by Central Bank and appreciates continuously performance of the project by issuer with respect of typical employee accounts, financial statement, and executive performance of issuer and describe its opinion in order to prevent the interest of sukuk holder. Next, issuer of sukuk holder should deliver required congressional agent bank in order to guarantee the principal is aggregate of the profit sukuk. Next, agent bank make an offer of masyarakat sukuk for selling and distribution on account profit after tax due dates and reduces principal at maturity. If materialized profit is lower than account profit, issuer would compensate different from its own financial resources. Lastly, masyarakat sukuk can be credit redeemed by agent bank before maturity. So the party that evolve and the right and their application. Firstly, Central Bank of Iran is a right and obligation to given permission and approval to those who want to issuing the sukuk. Central Bank of Iran also manage and determine the date, condition, and scale of sukuk. Lastly, it is choosing the custody. Next is issuer. Issuer can be anyone that can issue the masyarakat sukuk like minister, public people, government, film, public and private institution, and anyone that is interested to issuing the sukuk. All partnership is agreed to distribution in the project. Issuer must get permission from the central bank when issuing the sukuk. After that get permission from central bank, issuer must announce the subject matter publicly through the media and deliver the requirement of clauses to foreigns to the agent bank in order to guarantee the principal it is accurate of the profit of Sukuk. Next is agent or broker. Agent is broker is a party that issues the masyarakat Sukuk on behalf of the issuer and is responsibility for the distribution of ongoing profit. Second, the mechanism profit and principal repayment. Agent bank also offer the masyarakat Sukuk and for selling and distributes on account profit after tax in due dates and reverses principal at the maturity date. Lastly is trustee. Trustee is a person or legal body that chosen by Central Bank of Iran. It is to protect of interest masyarakat Sukuk holder in terms of principal utilization, account management, financial statement, and project executive performance. So list of the challenge for in the masyarakat Sukuk. First is liquidation risk. Liquidation is option before mortality based on per value and gain profit. These Sukuk are not marketable and do not fully get the in response to economy regulation and growth. Next is the cost risk. High cost for agent bank directly. Sukuk liquidation at the payment date time is the risk in the bank agency fees. Next is a market risk because many countries are using their bonds and release in soon under generation. Lastly, loss risk. The issuer accept the probability may be lower than usual on account profit, but may even the experience in a loss. Benefit masyarakat Sukuk to each party. First, for issuer, issuer can get ownership without voting. This is because masyarakat Sukuk holder are partner in deliver project. Next is issuer masyarakat Sukuk do not have a specific time. This is because masyarakat Sukuk has a long time maturity. The guarantee in profit and loss. All participants will get profit based on the contribution in the project through the duration of the partnership agreement. Lastly, Sukuk can be traded at the secondary market. So this is how the masyarakat Sukuk pricing mechanism. So how the instrument masyarakat is traded? First is traded on money market or capital market. It can be hold until maturity date or sell at the secondary market. Basically, Sukuk has a fair value and long maturity dates. Sukuk masyarakat also can trade at secondary market, allow central bank to enter and exit the secondary market while also saving the as a monetary policy instrument. So how you can access and where you can access the instrument? Firstly, announcement by issuer through the public media. Next, via a coming project by government. Next, through the stock exchange market, money market, and capital market. And lastly is via the secondary market. So how masyarakat Sukuk use and bank treasury operation? If bank in long position, bank can buy the Sukuk at the market. And if bank have a short position, bank can sell the Sukuk at the market. All this creation is happen in money market. Lastly, the regulating agency and official guidelines. The act of issuing masyarakat Sukuk was eventually adopted by Parliament of the Islamic Republic of Iran in September 1997 and its by law was authorized by Council of Ministers in August 1998. So the act authorized institution to issuing the masyarakat Sukuk are like government, state-owned companies, money politics, public and non-government institution, non-profit institution, public joint stock companies, progression cooperative in Article 1. Next, holder of masyarakat Sukuk are partners with respect to profit generate from execution of the project based on peer review and time period of partnership in Article 2. Next, Musyawarah Sukuk can issued by the government if only if such issues required for financial profit-oriented conclusion project in Article 3. Maximum of Musyawarah Sukuk which can be issued yearly should be determined by Money and Credit Council in accordance in according the fiscal and monetary policy of Iran. Note number 2, Article 4. Lastly, joint stock company can issue musyawarah sukuk which can be converted or substituted by stock. Article number 6.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nur Ashik binti Samsul. Meeting number is 28010. Will explain about negotiable instrument of deposit. What is NID? A negotiable instrument of deposit. NID is a document which is issued by an authorized bank where it certifies that a certain amount of funds has been deposited with the bank for a standard rate of interest with a specified maturity date. It also refers to a financial document that represents a specific sum of money which can be transferred from one party to another. It requires that the payment either upon demand or at a set time which has already been structured in the contract. The term negotiable in the negotiable instrument of deposit refers to the fact that they are transferable to different parties. It is transferred if it is transferred, the new holder obtains the full legal title to it. NID is like a fixed deposit with bank. However, NID offers the holder an important additional advantage that it is negotiable. Since it is a bearer document, the original certificate is kept with an authorized depository, usually the issuing bank, at all times. Next, for what purpose it is created? The negotiable instrument of deposit is created to facilitate commercial transaction by providing a more secure and convenient way of transfer and exchange value. It is an instrument issued by bank and financial institutions certifying that a principal amount of funds has been deposited with the issuing bank at a certain period of time and a specified interest rate. NID are widely used in a variety of transactions which include buying and selling goods, services and property, as well as borrowing and lending money. Negotiable instruments are also subjected to specific law and regulation that govern their use and transfer. These laws establish that the requirements for the creation, transfer, and enforcement of negotiable instruments, as well as rights and obligations of the party involved in this transaction. The laws governing negotiable instruments vary from country to country, but they generally aim to provide a consistent and reliable framework for the use and exchange of these. How it is created. Negotiable instrument of deposit (NID) was introduced in Malaysia in the year of 1979 as an instrument for commercial banks and eligible finance company and Islamic banks. NID was designed to be marketable and liquid, where it also promoted the development of the domestic money market situation. NID are issued by banking institutions in Malaysia and was created to mobilize public's domestic savings. Who are the parties involved? The main parties which are involved in NID are issuer, depositor, investor, another bank, and another investor. In Malaysia, mostly the issuer of NID are the banking institution, whether it is a commercial bank, finance company, or merchant bank, which is licensed by Bank Negara Malaysia. The depositor is the person or company which buys NID from the issuer or the secondary market and deposit it with the banking institution. The depositor will receive the interest payment from the issuer and may be able to withdraw the principal and interest at maturity. The depositor may also sell the NID to another party before the maturity date. The investor is the other party or company which the depositor sell the NID to before the maturity date of the NID. The investor will pay deposit to the depositor after buying the NID from the depositor. If the investor holds the NID until the maturity date without selling it to another party, the investor will surrender the NID back to the issuer, and the issuer will pay the principal and the interest of the NID to the investor. For another bank, if the investor does not hold the NID until maturity but instead sell the NID to another party, which is the another bank will pay deposit to the investor for the NID when the investor chooses to resell the NID rather than holding it until maturity. If the other bank decides to hold the NID until deposit without selling the instrument to another party, the other bank will surrender the NID back to the issuer and will receive the principal along with the last interest of the NID from the issuer. Lastly, another investor is when another bank party decides to not hold the NID until the maturity date, but instead the another bank decides to sell the NID to another party, which is another investor. The another bank party will then do another resale of the NID instrument to the another investor party. The other investor will pay deposit to to the other bank for the resale of the NID. If this party decides to hold the NID until maturity without reselling it to the other party, another investor party can redeem the certificate on maturity to the issuer. The issuer will then pay the principal plus the interest of the NID instrument to the another investor party. Next, for the rights of each party, for the issuer, the first right for the issuer is the right to specify the term and condition for the NID instrument. The issuer can specify the term and condition of the NID, which also includes the principal amount, the maturity date, interest rate, tenor, and other relevant terms. The issuer also has the right to set conditions for the NID, such as the payment of the instrument. The second right for the issuer is that they have the right to terminate and sue other parties if there were any breaches. The issuer can take legal action to the other parties which do not honor the terms and conditions of the NID instrument. Next, depositor. The first right for the depositor is the right to sell and transfer the NID instrument to other parties before the maturity of the NID. The depositor has the right to sell the NID instrument before maturity to another party and receive the payment of the NID from the other party. This means that the depositor gives the other parties the right to receive the principal amount plus interest of the NID upon maturity from the issuer. The second right of the depositor is the right to receive the promised amount of NID from issuer upon maturity date. Upon maturity of the NID instrument, the depositor has the right to receive the amount of principal plus the interest which has been decided from the issuer. The depositor can sue the issuer if the promised amount from the NID was not received upon maturity based on the term and condition of the NID instrument. Next, the investor first right is the right to sell and transfer the NID instrument to other parties before the maturity of the NID. The investor has the right to sell the NID instrument before maturity to another party and receive the payment of the NID from the other party. This means that after buying the NID from the depositor, the investor will then resell the NID and give the other party the right to receive the principal amount plus interest of the NID upon maturity from the issuer. The second right of the investor is the right to receive the promised amount of the NID from issuer upon maturity date. Upon maturity of the NID instrument, if the investor hold the NID, they have the right to receive the amount of principal plus the interest which has been decided from the issuer. Next, the another bank. The first right for the another bank is the right to sell and transfer the NID instrument to other parties before the maturity of the NID. The another bank party has the right to sell the NID instrument before maturity to another party and receive the payment of the NID from the other party. This means that after buying the NID from the investor, the another bank party will then resell the NID and give the other parties the right to receive the principal amount plus interest of the NID upon maturity from the issuer. The second right of the investor of the another bank is the right to receive the promised amount of the NID from issuer upon maturity date. If the another bank party hold the NID instrument until maturity date, they have the right to receive the amount of principal plus the interest which has been decided with the issuer. Lastly, for another investor party, the first right for another investor party is the right to access information and disclosure from the seller and also the issuer of NID, such as the term and condition of the NID which has been agreed upon by the issuer, the interest rate and the tenor of the NID. The second right of another investor is the right to receive the promised amount of the NID from the issuer upon the maturity date. This party has the right to receive the amount of principal plus the interest which has been decided with the issuer. For the responsibility or obligation of each party, for issuer, the issuer is obligated to issue the NID in accordance with the law and regulation passed by the Bank Negara Malaysia and Security Commission of Malaysia. The issuer is also responsible to pay the principal and interest which was promised within the term of the NID to the holder of the instrument upon the maturity of the NID. Lastly, the issuer is also obligated to keep the customer's personal information and does not disclose the customer's information to the public. Next, for depositor, the responsibility or obligation of the depositor in NID is to comply with the term and condition of NID which has been discussed with the issuer and has been accepted by the depositor, such as the principal amount, interest rate, tenor, and maturity date. If the depositor does not comply with the term and condition, the issuer have the rights to terminate the NID and sue the depositor. The depositor is also responsible to surrender the NID back to the issuer upon the agreed maturity date. Next, for investor, the investor is responsible in paying the depositor, which is the former holder of NID, when the depositor sells the NID to the investor. Upon the selling of the NID, the holder right for the NID is transferred to the investor. Thus, upon the maturity of the NID, the investor is obligated to surrender the NID back to the issuer. If the investor were to resell the NID to another party, the investor is responsible to transfer the right to the new holder of the NID. Next, another bank. For another bank, they are responsible in paying the investor, which is the former holder of the NID, after the investor resell the NID to another bank party. Upon the selling of the NID, the holder right for the NID is transferred to another bank. Thus, upon the maturity of the NID, the another bank is obligated to surrender the NID back to the issuer. If the another bank were to resell the NID to another party, the another bank is responsible in transferring the right to the new holder of the NID. Lastly, for another investor, they are responsible in paying the another bank, which is the former holder of the NID, after the another bank will sell the NID to another investor party. Upon the selling of the NID, the holder rights for the NID is transferred to another investor. Thus, upon maturity of the NID, the another investor is obligated to surrender the NID back to the issuer. For the risk to each party, firstly, the first risk that the issuer may face is the interest rate risk. The NID will be affected with the movement of the interest rate during the tenure of the instrument until maturity date. If the issuer issued a NID at a fixed rate and the market interest rate changed unfavorably for the issuer, they may experience loss since the issuer has to pay more of the interest. Another risk that the issuer may face is the market risk, where the issuer faces problem in issuing NID due to the market demand and supply of NID changes. Next, depositor. The first risk that the depositor might face is the risk that they do not receive the payment of principal plus the interest of the NID by the issuer, which has been agreed with the issuer upon maturity. The next risk is liquidity risk, where the depositor may face problem if they were not able to resell or redeem the NID in the secondary market at a favorable price or time. In a situation where the depositor needs immediate cash and they plan to sell the NID in the secondary market, it would pose a problem to the depositor if the price and the rate at the time is unfavorable. Next, investor. The first risk that the investor might face is the risk that do not receive the payment of principal plus the less interest of the NID by the issuer. The next risk is liquidity risk, where the investor may face problem if they were not able to sell or redeem the NID in the secondary market at a favorable price or time. In a situation where the depositor needs immediate cash and they plan to sell the NID in the secondary market, it would pose a problem to investor if the price and the rate at the time is unfavorable. Next, for another bank, the first risk is the risk that they might face is they do not receive the payment of principal plus the last interest of the NID by the issuer. The next risk is liquidity risk, where another bank may face problem if they were not able to sell or redeem the NID in the secondary market at a favorable price or time. In a situation where another bank needs immediate cash, they plan to sell the NID in the secondary market, it would pose a problem to another bank if the price and the rate at the time is unfavorable. Lastly, for another investor, the risk that the investor might face is the risk that they do not receive the principal plus the last interest of the NID by the issuer, which has been agreed with the issuer upon maturity. NID are divided into 4 categories, which the first one is short-term negotiable instrument of deposit (SNID). For short-term negotiable term instrument of deposit, the tenure for SNID range between 1 month to 12 months. The minimum value is 100,000 ringgit in a multiple of 50,000 ringgit, and the maximum value is up to 1 million ringgit. The issuer may issue NID at par, at a premium, or at a discount depending on the market interest rate after discussing with the depositor. The interest is also based on a fixed coupon rate, where it will be paid on maturity along with the principal. Below is the formula used to calculate the deposit of SNID. Where NV is the nominal value, C is the coupon interest rate per annum, T is the number of days between the issued date and the maturity date. However, in the secondary market, the SNID is traded on a yield per annum basis, where deposit which will need to be paid by the buyer is calculated using the formula where NV is the nominal value, C is the coupon rate, Y is the yield percentage per annum, TIM is the number of days between the issue date and the maturity date, while GSM is the number of days between the settlement date and the maturity date. Secondly is the long-term negotiable instrument of deposit (LNID). The tenure for LNID must be at least 12 months and can be up to 120 months. The minimum value for LNID is 100,000 ringgit in multiple of 50,000 ringgit with a maximum value up to 10 million ringgit. The issuer may issue LNID at par, at a premium, or at a discount, and coupon payment is made semi-annually or quarterly, except for the first interest payment, which could be earlier than 3 or 6 months. The LNID is traded on a price basis, such as quoted in terms of price per 100 nominal value. The formula used to calculate the first interest payment is as below, where NV is the nominal value, C is the coupon rate, N is the frequency of coupon payment per annum, DIC is the number of actual days between the issued date and the first interest date, and DCC is the number of days in the next interest period. Next, the formula used to compute the remaining interest payment, where the formula is as shown below. where NV is the nominal value, C is the coupon rate, and N is the frequency of coupon payment per annum. Lastly, below is the formula used to calculate deposit to be paid when trading in the secondary market, where NV is the nominal value, P is the price, C is the coupon rate, N is the frequency of coupon payments per annum, DCS is the number of days between the last interest date and the settlement date, and DCC is the number of days in the current interest period. Thirdly, the zero coupon negotiable instrument of deposit ZNID. The tenor for ZNID must be at least 1 month and can be up to until 120 months. The minimum value for LNID is 100,000 ringgit, the multiple of 50,000 ringgit with a maximum value up to 10 million ringgit. The full nominal value is to be paid by the issuer upon the maturity date. The ZNID is traded on a yield basis, example 7.05% for paper with remaining maturity of less than 365 days. However, for papers exceeding 365 days to maturity, it will be traded on price basis, for example 98 ringgit 90 cent. The formula below is used to compute the deposit when trading in the secondary market for paper with remaining maturity of less than 365 days, where NB is the nominal value, Y is the yield percentage in per annum, the SM is the number of days from the previous settlement date and the maturity date. However, the formula used to calculate deposit when trading in secondary market with papers which has remaining maturity date exceeding the 365 days is as shown below, where NB is the nominal value and P is the price. For the last categories of NID is the floating rate negotiable instrument of deposit, FRNID. Tenor for FRNID must be at least 12 months, which can be up to 120 months. FRNID has a minimum value of 100,000 ringgit and multiple of 50,000 ringgit with a maximum value up to 10 million ringgit. The interest payment is for every 3 to 6 monthly interval based on CLIBOR plus minus margins, fixed every interest payment date. FRNID is traded on price basis. The formula used to calculate the FRNID is shown below, where the NB is the nominal value, P is the price, C is the coupon rate, and DCS is the number of days between the last interest date and the settlement date. Next, how is the instrument traded? Since the NID is an interest-bearing deposit certificate which is issued by bank that can be traded in the wholesale secondary market, NID can be based on fixed rate, zero coupon rates, or floating rates, or a combination of either of the three rates. The NID can be traded through repurchase agreement, repo and reverse repo, or sell and buyback agreement, SBBA or reverse SBBA. This is where the first seller and the first buyer respectively undertake to repurchase and sell back the NID at an agreed price on a date which has been agreed upon. NID can also be traded through outright sell or purchase of NID in the secondary market, which is subjected to the availability and the market demand and supply. Next, is there any secondary market? Yes, there is a secondary market for NID in Malaysia. The NID can be traded among banks and other financial institutions. It also allows the holder of the NID to sell or buy the NID as long as it is before the maturity date. Repurchase agreement, repo and reverse repo, sell and buyback agreement, SBBA or reverse SBBA, and outright sell and purchase are among the secondary market for NID. Repo is where the seller of NID agrees to buy back the NID from the buyer at a specified price and date. Repo is also used to provide short-term liquidity to the buyer of NID who can use the NID as collateral to borrow funds from the seller. A repo can have a tenor ranging from overnight to 1 year, which depends on the agreement between both of the parties. SBBA is an Islamic repurchase agreement transaction where the seller sells the NID to the buyer and the buyer agrees to resell back the NID to the seller at a specified price and date. SBBA is an alternative of repo which complies with the Sharia where it does not involve interest and riba. SBBA is used to provide short-term liquidity to the buyer of NID who can use the NID as collateral to borrow funds from the seller. SBBA is also used to enhance the liquidity in the Islamic interbank money market by allowing the seller to sell the specified NID to the buyer. The SBBA can have a tenor ranging from overnight to 1 year depending on the agreement of the party involved. For outright sell and purchase of NID is where the seller of NID transfers the ownership of NID to the buyer without any obligation to buy it back from the buyer. Outright sell and purchase of NID is used to provide short-term investment opportunity to the buyer of NID where they are able to earn interest from their funds. Upon maturity, the buyer will surrender back the NID to the issuer and the buyer will then receive the promised principal plus the last interest of the NID. Where and how can you have access to this instrument? The NID instruments can be accessed from the banks and financial institution which has license under the Banking and Financial Institution Act 1989 by BF FIA, and Islamic banks, which is licensed under the Islamic Banking Act 1983 (IBA). Among the commercial banks which are licensed to be issuing NID are Affin Bank Berhad, CIMB Bank Berhad, Maybank Berhad, and Hong Leong Bank Berhad. How does the instrument used in a bank treasury operation? NID is used in a bank treasury operation to raise funds or invest surplus funds in the short-term money market. NID is a low-risk and flexible instrument which may help the bank to manage its cash flow and profitability. NID can be based on a fixed coupon or floating rates, or a combination of the three rates. The first one is liquidity management. The bank issue NID to manage the bank liquidity by buying or selling NID. The bank manages to adjust its liquidity through adjusting the maturity and frequency of NID issuance and its trading. By issuing short-term negotiable instrument of deposit as NID, the bank can diversify the funding structure in the money market, and they are able to raise funds quickly to meet any short-term cash needs. However, if the bank have excess cash in the long term, they can issue or buy NID with longer maturity debt. NID can also help in complying with the statutory reserve requirement (SRR), which is imposed by Bank Negara Malaysia, where it is a percentage of the bank eligible liabilities that must be maintained in the reserve account. Secondly, the risk management. By issuing NID which follow the guideline and regulation which is set by Bank Negara Malaysia and the Department of Occupational Safety and Health, by issuing NID, it can mitigate the risks such as interest rate fluctuation risk, market volatility, liquidity shortage, credit risk, operational failures, and legal dispute. NID also can be used by bank as a hedging instrument which can be used to reduce exposure to other financial instruments. Issuing NID also can help the bank in diversifying their portfolio and reduce risk by investing in different types of NID such as Islamic Negotiable Instrument of Deposit and INI, Cagamas, notes, and bonds. Since this type of NID have different characteristics and benefits which suit different needs and preferences of bank and customers. Lastly, trading and secondary market. Bank can engage in trading the NID on secondary market by issuing NID. It will help in providing source of income from buying and selling the NID instrument and taking advantage of the price movement and the interest rate changes in the market. The bank can sell the NID at a higher price when the bank expects that the market interest rate were to rise so that they can earn profit. The bank can buy NID at a lower price and earn return if the expected interest rate of the market were to fluctuate. Outright sell and purchase, repurchase agreement (REPO), and sell and buy back agreement (SBBA) are among the trading and secondary market which NID can be traded. Is there any official guideline regulating the instrument? Yes, there are a few official guidelines which regulate NID. NID is a product issued by Bank Negara Malaysia. The first guideline is the Guidelines on Negotiable Instrument of Deposit from 2006. This guideline was issued by Bank Negara Malaysia, where the guideline had been revised by Bank Negara Malaysia on May 2002, and the new revised version of the guideline were published on 15 June 2006. The next official guideline is the Explanatory Notes on Negotiable Instrument of Deposit (NID) and Islamic Negotiable Instrument of Deposit (INI), which was also issued by Bank Negara Malaysia. This guideline was issued to serve as a general guide and reference for the financial institution on the issuance, trading, and settlement of NID and INI in the Malaysian market. Lastly, operational procedures for Malaysian Ringgit settlement in the real-time electronic transfers of funds and security system (RENTAS) can also serve as a guideline for NID. This guideline was also issued by Bank Negara Malaysia, where in the guideline it specified the role and regulation for participants of RENTAS, which is a system that facilitates the settlement of NID and other financial transactions in Malaysia. Lastly, who are the regulating agency? The regulating agency which regulate the NID instrument are Bank Negara Malaysia, Securities Commission of Malaysia, Commercial Bank, Islamic banks, and financial institutions which complies with the Banking Institution Act 1989. The Bank Negara Malaysia is the central bank of Malaysia and has the authority in issuing, trading, and settling NID and other type of financial instrument in Malaysian market. Security Commission of Malaysia, which is the statutory body which regulate and supervise the capital market activities in Malaysia, which may include the issuance and distribution of structured products of NID. Commercial bank, Islamic banks, and financial institutions which comply with the Banking Institution Act 1989 also has the authority to issue and buy NID in the market. That's all for me. Thank you.
Conventional markets often clash with the Islamic principles. This is where the Islamic capital market steps in, providing a platform that accommodates both Muslim and non-Muslim while adhering to the Islamic principle. A substitute for a bond instrument in the Islamic capital market is sukuk. Now, let's focus on the diverse sukuk instrument that contribute to the vibrancy of the Islamic capital market. We have Istina, Salam, Mudarabah, dan musyarakah, and also al-murabahah sukuk. Zooming in one of the mudarabah sukuk, it's worth exploring this unique profit sharing partnership. Investors as capital providers, while the mudarib takes charge of managing the ventures. Equal profit sharing is based on a pre-agreed ratio, offering a fair distribution of returns. Importantly, the capital provider's liability remain limited, aligning with the ethical investment practices guided by Islamic principles. Our first point focuses on maintaining adherence to the principle Sharia. Investor can tap into the potential of sukuk or Islamic bond, all while staying clear of elements of prohibition in Islam, such as interest and avoidable business practices. Number 2, we highlight the ethical dimension of mudarabah sukuk. It presents an avenue of investors to seek profits without engaging themselves in those provident elements. Islamic bonds offer a way to generate returns without engaging in practices that conflict with the religious belief. This fundamental aspect allows both investors and the issuer of sukuk to mutually protect in the profit on losses. This practice ensures a balanced partnership, enhancing fairness between both parties involved. Our fourth point shifts the spotlight to the role mudarabah sukuk plays in the capital rising. This instrument serves as a platform for firms, banks, and even government to acquire essential funds from the investors. This fund is turn facilitate growing opportunities. For instance, government can use mudarabah sukuk to finance impactful projects like airport or carbon hubs, subsequently enhance the economy and generating employment opportunities. Lastly, we explore the role mudarabah sukuk always in portfolio diversification. Investors recognize the value of the spreading risk across various investments. Mudarabah sukuk provides a tool for achieving this, minimizing potential losses. If there is an issue, is unable to repay the sukuk issued. Issuance of sukuk. Sukuk issuance and ownership. Sukuk represent ownership in asset or project issued by the mudarib. Investor fund sukuk and trust issuer SPV as trustee. Mudarabah agreement. Issuer SPV and originator sign mudarabah agreement. Originator is mudarib. Issuer SPV is Rabbul Mal, creating a Sharia compliant mudarabah enterprise. Originator role. Originator as mudarib contribute expertise and management to the mudarabah enterprise. Issue SPV and originator enter mudarabah enterprise to generate profit on invested principal. Accrued profit from the mudarabah enterprise are shared between the issuer SPV and originator per agreed ratio. If profit exceeds benchmark, mudarib may receive a performance fee for the expertise. Issuer SPV holds mudarabah profit in trust for investors. Issuer SPV uses mudarabah revenue to provide a regular return to investors. First up, we have the issuer. This can be corporation, government, or institution with funding needs. They take on the role of mudarib, bringing their expertise and skills to the table, which is crucial for the success of the project. Now, let's talk about the investor contribution. These are the ones with a surplus fund investing to earn return. These return are then distributed on a pre-agreed ratio between the investors and the mudarib. Then, moving along, we have the special purpose vehicle or SPV. This entity serves as a trustee in the mudarabah sukuk contract. Their vital responsibilities lies on the safeguarding the right of sukuk holders and ensuring the profits are shared fairly according to the agreed term. No system is complete without regulatory oversight. In this case, we have the Securities Commission Malaysia and Bank Negara Malaysia. They play a vital role in ensuring that the issues of mudarabah sukuk align with the legal framework and Sharia principle. Let's start with the mudarib or issuer. They wield a significant right, the right to manage investment activities using fund raised through the mudarabah sukuk issuance. This authority empowers them to skillfully deploy this fund, aiming to maximize profit by financing projects with by the expertise and the precision. Turning our attention to investors, they hold an essential right as well. Investor by mudarabah sukuk with a clear purpose, which is to grow their wealth. Their right to profit is a core principle. Profit earned from the ventures are divided based on the pre-agreed ratio outlined in the sukuk agreement. Moreover, they are entitled to stay informed about the investment activities and the financial performance of the issuer. This right ensures transparency and guard against the potential losses. SPV, a key player with a significant role in the mudarabah sukuk. SPV assumes the responsibility of representing investors, acting as their guardian throughout the process. Their right is to ensure investors' interests are protected, upholding integrity and fairness. The Securities Commission of Malaysia steps in as a regulatory authority with a crucial right, the right to approve or deny mudarabah sukuk issuance. This regulatory oversight is vital. It ensures that every sukuk issuance adhere to the Islamic principle, safeguarding the integrity of the financial landscape. Bank Negara Malaysia and Syariah Government also Lastly, Bank Negara Malaysia hold the right to Sharia governance, which shape the Sharia governance framework. This framework guided the issuance of Mudarabah Sukuk, aligning with the Maqasid Sharia objective to achieve financial harmony and ethical standard. Let's begin with the issuers. Their duties are crucial. Issuer must ensure transparency by providing clear financial information and outlining the purpose behind the issuing of Mudarabah Sukuk. Equally significant is their responsibility to generate profit from investors' contributions and their own expertise in their venture. These profits are then shared based on the pre-agreed ratio. Shifting our focus to investors, they carry essential responsibilities. Investors provide the capital that drive issuer profitability. However, their role doesn't stop there. Investors are tasked with monitoring the use of funds to guarantee alignment with the Islamic Sharia principle, thus upholding the ethical practices. The Special Purpose Vehicle or SPV holds a distinct role. Its obligation lies in efficiently managing the proceeds for the Mudarabah Sukuk. These proceeds are invested in projects or ventures that are both Sharia compliant and displayed during the financial performance. This ensures alignment with the investors' expectation. Lastly, the Securities Commission Malaysia is a such regulatory authority. They are empowered to take the action against issuers involved in the activities that breach the law or the terms established to the Mudarabah Sukuk issuance. This oversight safeguards both legality and the integrity of the entire system. Move to investment risk. This risk has a sway over ventures and reputation. If a venture falters, profit decline potentially affected both financial performance and the institution reputation for future sukuk issuance. Now let's talk market risk faced by the investors. Economic shift can impact investment decision in the ever-changing market. Economic downturn might prompt investors to sell before the maturity, potentially leading to a reduction in return. Moving on the role of Special Purpose Vehicle (SPVs), they carry their own set of risks. Decision-making mistakes can influence performance and profits. Ensuring ventures align with Sharia principle is a key safeguard against the legal violation. Lastly, regulatory compliance risks the role of the Securities Commission of Malaysia. Risks emerge in the sukuk issuance conflict with the Sharia principle. Upholding alignment with Islamic values remain paramount to mitigate this compliance risk. For firms, Mudarabah Sukuk offer a path of fund without compromising Sharia principle. Investors reap the benefit of portfolio diversification, safeguarding against economic fluctuation. Special Purpose Vehicle (SPVs) strive to efficient management translates to additional fees and enhanced reputation. The Securities Commission of Malaysia ensures compliance, instilling investors' trust and prompting growth. Here are the two steps in pricing sukuk. The price of sukuk and proceeds are calculated based on the face value of RM100. Firstly, it can be traded in secondary market. They can also sell before the maturity. Holders have the freedom to sell sukuk before maturity, a strategy ensuring liquidity and guarding against market fluctuation. Conversely, holding sukuk till maturity yield higher returns, capitalizing on extended investment periods. Mudarabah Sukuk isn't confined to insurance alone. It thrives in the secondary market. This marketplace facilitates the exchange of the existing instrument among investors. Brokers who act as intermediaries execute orders on behalf of the investors, making the trading process seamless. The second market isn't exclusive. It's open to everyone. Everyone. Individual investors as well as an institution is an equal opportunity to amplify wealth through the Mudarabah Sukuk activities. Flexibility is another key. Investors can choose to buy and sell Mudarabah Sukuk before the maturity, catering to their short-term liquidity needs. Mudarabah Sukuk are traded in the Sharia-compliant financial markets. Investors need a broker's trading account for market access. Conduct throughout the research before investing is a crucial key. To research about the issuer background, profit sharing terms, financial performance of the company or firm to manage the risk effectively. Next, access the Mudarabah Sukuk via the over-the-counter market. OTC benefit Islamic banks and investors, enabling risk-aligned trade execution. Government-issued sukuk can be accessed throughout the announcement. Government-issued sukuk can be accessed throughout the announcement. Keep an eye on the press release and official finance ministry websites. Diversifying investment portfolio. Imagine bank driven by the profit. Harness Mudarabah Sukuk as a cornerstone in their investment strategies. The focus is to diversifying their investment portfolio, aligning with their risk appetite while adhering to the Islamic principle. Managing risk and increasing the profit. By crafting agreements rooted in the Islamic principle, banks effectively manage risk and amplify profit. This diversified approach eliminates prohibited elements like interest-based transaction, in turns bolstering the bottom line. Mudarabah sukuk brings forth a dual boon, a heightening profit and liquidity assurance. With the ability to sell this instrument before maturity, bank ensures consistent cash flow for the short-term requirement. But that's not all. Bank utilize mudarabah sukuk also to raise capital from projects such as advanced technology, infrastructure expansion and new product ventures, all undertaken with unwavering adherence to the Sharia principle. The issuance of mudarabah sukuk is regulated by the Securities Commission of Malaysia and Bank Negara Malaysia. The Securities Commission issue guideline on sukuk under Section 377 of the Capital Market and Services Act 2007. Bank Negara Malaysia provides guideline on the issuance of the instrument that focus on the stability and soundness of the Islamic financial system. Syariah guideline regulating issuance of sukuk mudarabah. Investor capital contribution must be made in cash, in kind or a combination of two. A third party may offer kafalah or mudarabah capital with or without payment. If Islamic bank or other kafalah suppliers are unavailable, conventional guarantees may be obtained. The Rabb al-Mal may ask mudarib for collateral as a form of protection due to the mudarib carelessness or wrongdoing. The Rabb al-Mal and the mudarabah must split on the profit from the ventures in accordance with the predetermined profit sharing ratio. However, unless the loss is the result of the mudarib carelessness or poor management of the mudarib undertaking, all losses must be paid wholly and solely by the Rabb al-Mal. A partner has the option to forgo receiving payment from the mudarabah ventures profit if he so chooses. Mudarib or representative chosen by the mudarib must handle the mudarabah business enterprise.
Next, for Canadian banker acceptance, so define what it is first. For Canada, established in Canada in the early 1960s, BA banker acceptance are part of the suite of money market products that are integral to the real economy and transmission of monetary policy. In contrast to their more traditional use to finance international trade, banker acceptance were introduced to the Canadian marketplace to develop a more active domestic money market. More than 50 years after their introduction, banker acceptance account for the larger share of money market instruments issued by non-government entities and are the second largest money market instrument overall in Canada, averaging just over 25% of the total domestic money market in 2017. As is evident by the continued growth in the banker acceptance market, these instruments are a key sources of funds for small and medium-sized corporations. They may not have direct access to primary funding market because of their size and credit rating. Recently, banker acceptance have also become a more important funding sources for large corporate borrowers because of credit rating downgrade in certain sector and industry consolidation. This product also fit within the investment policy of many institutional investors, which rely on banker acceptance as a sources of short-term income and liquidity. Banker acceptance is a direct and unconditional order for a corporate borrower to draw down against its established line of credit called a banker acceptance facility at a Canadian bank. Once the drawdown occurs, the accepting of lending bank guarantee the principal and interest by stamping the paper, thus becoming fully liable for the payment upon maturity in case of non-payment by the underlying corporate borrowers. The accepting bank charges a fee called the stamping fee for this guarantee. The stamping fee has been bilaterally agreed to and is dependent on the credit quality of the borrower, or statement the banker acceptance is transferred to the bank or dealer sort of money market inventory, where it can be sold to investor in the secondary market. This product received the same short-term credit rating as that of the accepting bank. Next, for what purpose create? In Canada, banker acceptance were introduced to encourage a more active domestic money market, and also to further support the market. The bank was also prepared an occasion to buy and sell bank acceptance for its own account if they meet the legal restriction under the prevailing Bank of Canada Act and had a maturity not exceeding 90 days. The primary purpose of the Canadian bank acceptance market is to facilitate the financing of international and domestic trade transactions. The Canadian banker acceptance market also play a vital role in money market operation and liquidity management for financial institutions. Furthermore, the Canadian banker acceptance market serves as a benchmark for interest rate in the broader money market. Next, who and how it is created. The Canadian banker acceptance was created through a combination of market force, financial institution practice, and regulatory framework. Firstly, financial institution. Canadian bank and financial institution play a vital role in the creation of the banker acceptance market. Secondly, market demand. Development of the Canadian banker acceptance market was driven by market demand. Next, regulatory framework. Regulatory body in Canada, such as the Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions (OSPI) and the Bank of Canada, play a significant role in shaping the market acceptance market. And in addition, market infrastructure. The establishment of the Canadian market acceptance was supported by the market infrastructure. The creation of the Canadian banker acceptance market was a collaborative effort involving financial institution, market participant, and regulatory body. Okay, next, who are the parties involved? Firstly, issuing bank, including major Canadian bank and other financial institutions, are integral the banker acceptance market. Secondly, accepting institutions are the buyer of the banker acceptance in the Canadian market. This institution can include bank, financial institution, corporation, and individual investor. Thirdly, investors are an essential part of the Canadian banker acceptance market. They can include money market fund, institutional investor, and individual investors seeking short-term, low risk investment. Next, broker and dealer act as intermediary in the banker acceptance market. They facilitate the buying and selling of banker acceptance between issuing bank, accepting institution, and investor. Next, various clearing and settlement systems are involved in the processing and settlement of transactions in the Canadian banker acceptance market. In addition, regulatory bodies such as the Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions (OSPI) and the Bank of Canada play a crucial role in overseeing and regulating the Canadian banker acceptance market. Next, for right of each party. Issuing bank have several rights in the bank acceptance market. Firstly, they have the right to issue bank acceptance to meet the financing need of their customer. They can set the term and condition of the bank acceptance they issue, including the principal amount, maturity date, and interest rate. Issuing bank also have the right to rely on the creditworthiness of the accepting institution and ensure that the payment obligation and the bank acceptance are fulfilled at maturity. Next, accepting institutions also have specific right in the bank acceptance market. They have the right to purchase bank acceptance to facilitate trade finance or invest in short-term instruments. Accepting institution can rely on the creditworthiness of the instrument bank, which guarantee the payment at maturity. Next, investors participating in the bank acceptance market also possess certain right. Firstly, they have the right to purchase bank acceptance as a short-term investment option. Investors have the right to receive payment of the principal and interest at maturity as guaranteed by the issuing bank. Also, they can sell or trade the bank acceptance in the secondary market before maturity. Next, broker and dealer in the bank acceptance market have specific right that pursue their role as intermediary. They have the right to facilitate the buying and selling of the bank acceptance between market participants. Broker and dealer can earn commission or fee for their service as intermediary. Okay, next, for responsibility obligation of each party. They must issue bank acceptance in compliance with applicable law, regulation, and market standards. Accepting institutions play a vital role in the bank acceptance market if it is their responsibility to assess the creditworthiness and reputation of the issuing bank before accepting a banker acceptance. Investors, including money market fund, institutional investor, and individual investor, have their own set of responsibility in the banker acceptance market. Broker and dealer act as intermediary in the bank acceptance market, facilitating transaction between market participants. They have a range of responsibility and obligation to ensure the smooth functioning of the market. So next, risk to each party. Firstly, issuing bank. For credit risk, issuing bank here the risk of the accepting institution defaulting of the payment obligation at maturity. Secondly, accepting institution. For credit risk, accepting institution face credit risk associated with the issuing bank. Thirdly, investor. For credit risk, investors in bank acceptance are exposed to credit risk associated with both the issuing bank and accepting institution. Lastly, broker and dealer. For counterparty risk, broker and dealer face counterparty risks which arise for the financial stability and creditworthiness of the party they transact with. It is essential for all parties in the Canadian bank acceptance market to employ risk management strategy, conduct due diligence, and stay updated on market conditions to mitigate this risk. Next, for reward or benefit to each party. Firstly, issuing bank. For financing and revenue generation, issuing bank benefit from the ability to provide short-term financing solution to their customer through bank acceptance. Secondly, accepting institution. For secure payment assurance, accepting institution benefit from the assurance of secure payment provided by bank acceptance. Thirdly, investor. For secure and liquid investment, investor benefit from the relative low risk nature of bank acceptance, backed by the creditworthiness of the issuing bank. Lastly, broker and dealer. For market intermediation, broker and dealer play a critical role in facilitating transaction in the bank acceptance market. The reward and benefit of participating in the Canadian bank acceptance market align with the need of each party, including revenue generation, risk mitigation, liquidity management, diversification, and income generation. Okay, next, what is the pricing mechanism the pricing mechanism for Canadian bank acceptance is based on a discount rate which determines the price at which these short-term instruments are bought and sold in the market. Okay, price is equal face value per 1 plus in equal discount rate multiply with day to maturity per 365. So face value refer to the nominal and principal amount of the bank acceptance. Discount rate represent the rate at which the future cash flow of the bank acceptance are discounted to their present value. Day to maturity indicate the number of days remaining until the maturity date of the bank acceptance. The pricing mechanism relies on the concept of discounting, which calculate the present value of future cash flow by applying an appropriate discount rate. So this okay, next, how is the instrument trade? Okay, firstly, primary market. For issuance, the primary market for Canadian bank acceptance involve the initial issuance of the instrument by issuing bank. Bank issues bank acceptance to meet the financing need of their customer, particularly in trade finance transaction. In the primary market, issuing bank offer new bank acceptance to accept institution and investor. Okay, secondary market. For interdealer market, the secondary market for Canadian bank acceptance operate through interdealer trading. Bank, broker, and dealer actively participate in this market, buying and selling bank acceptance among themselves. The interdealer market provide liquidity and efficient price discovery this instrument. For over the counter OTC trading, the secondary market also involve OTC trading, where market participants trade bank acceptance directly with each other. Okay, lastly, electronic trading platform. Electronic trading platform have gained prominence in the trading of Canadian bank acceptance. This platform provides an efficient and transparent way for market participants to connect and execute trades. Market participants can access real-time pricing information, submit order, and negotiate trade electronically. Okay, is there any secondary market? Yes, there is a secondary market for Canadian bank acceptance. The secondary market for Canadian banker acceptance involved the trading of previously issued banker acceptance among market participants. It provides an avenue for investors, accepting institutions, and other market participants to buy and sell this instrument after their initial issuance in the primary market. Okay, trading in the secondary market occurs through various channels, including interdealer trading, over-the-counter OTC transaction, and electronic platform. This channel facilitates the matching of buyer and seller, price discovery, and efficient execution of trade. Okay, next, benefit of the secondary market. In liquidity, the existence of a secondary market ensures that market participants have the opportunity to buy or sell their bank acceptance before their maturity date. This liquidity allows Western accepting institutions to manage their portfolio effectively and access funds when needed. Okay, flexibility. The secondary market offers flexibility to investor and accepting institutions by enabling them to adjust their position in bank acceptance based on changing market condition, investment strategy, or liquidity requirement. In market efficiency, the presence of a secondary market exchange market efficiency by fostering competition, improving liquidity, and ensuring that price reflect current market condition. Okay, where and how can you have access to this instrument? Firstly, primary market. For Issuing Bank are the primary source of Canadian bank acceptance. They issue this instrument to meet the financing need of their client, particularly in trade finance transaction. That's secondary market. For interdealer trading, market participants including bank, broker, and dealer actively engage in interdealer trading and Canadian bank acceptance. So in induction, institutional investor for money market fund, individual investor can access Canadian market acceptance indirectly through money market fund. It's important to note that access to Canadian market acceptance may be subject to certain eligibility criteria and regulatory requirements. Next, how does the instrument use in a bank treasury operation? Firstly, liquidity management. Banker acceptance play a critical role in managing short-term liquidity need for bank. When a bank has excess fund, it can invest in banker acceptance, which provides a secure and short-term investment option. Secondly, funding and financing. Bank can also utilize banker acceptance as a source of funding and financing. Thirdly, trade finance. Banker acceptance are widely used in trade finance transaction. Bank can issue this instrument to facilitate international and domestic trade, providing a financing solution to bridge the gap between the shipment of goods and the receipt of payment. Next, risk management. Banker acceptance are employed by bank as a risk management tool. In addition, investment portfolio. Bank treasury operation may include holding banker acceptance as part of their investment portfolio. Lastly, regulatory compliance. Banker acceptance can be used by bank to comply with regulatory requirements. Okay, are there any official guidelines regulating this instrument? Okay, firstly, Bank Act and Banking Regulation. Bank Act is the primary legislation governing bank in Canada. It set out the regulatory framework for the banking industry, including provision related to issuance and use of banker acceptance. Secondly, OSPI. The OSPI is the federal regulatory body responsible for supervising and regulating banks and other financial institutions in Canada. Thirdly, Payment Canada. Payment Canada is the organization responsible for operating the payment, clearing, and settlement system in Canada. Next, market convention and best practice. The Canadian bank acceptance market also operates based on market convention and best practice established by industry participants and association. Lastly, security regulation. In some cases, banker acceptance may fall under security regulation, particularly if they are traded in the secondary market. So next, who are the regulating agency? Firstly, Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions, OSPI. The OSPI is a federal regulatory agency responsible for supervising and regulating bank and other official financial institutions in Canada. Secondly, Canadian Security Administrator, CSA. The Canadian Security Administrator is an umbrella organization that coordinates the regulation of security market across Canada. Thirdly, Payment Canada. Payment Canada is a not-for-profit organization responsible for operating the payment, clearing and settlement system in Canada. Lastly, Financial Consumer Agency of Canada, FCSC. The Financial Consumer Agency of Canada is a regulatory agency responsible for protecting and educating consumer of financial product and service in Canada.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Khairuna Janajah binti Azmi, metric number 279821. I will explain about Chagamas commercial papers. Chagamas commercial papers refer to short-term debt instruments issued by Chagamas Berhad, also known as the National Mortgage Corporation of Malaysia. Chagamas is a government-owned institution established in Malaysia with the primary objective of promoting and facilitating the development of the domestic secondary mortgage market. Chagamas commercial papers are typically unsecured promissory notes with a maturity period of less than 1 year, usually range from 30 to 36.5 days. They are issued by Chagamas to raise funds from investors such as financial institutions, corporations, and individuals to finance its operation and mortgage related. Second is for what purpose is it Chagamas commercial paper is created. First is financing mortgage activities. By issuing commercial papers, Chagamas raise funds that are used to purchase housing loans from financial institutions, thus providing liquidity to these lenders. Second is funding operation. Chagamas requires funding for its day-to-day operations, including administrative expenses, staffing, technology, infrastructure, and other related costs. Third is diversification of funding sources. By tapping into the capital markets, Chagamas can access a broader base of investors and reduce its reliance on a single source of funding. Fourth is money market investment. Financial institutions, corporations, and individuals can invest in Chagamas commercial papers as parts of their money market investment portfolio. Next is who and how is it Chagamas commercial papers are created. Chagamas commercial papers are created and issued by Chagamas Berhad, the National Mortgage Corporation of Malaysia. How are these created? First is decision and authorization. Second is documentation and due diligence. Third are rating and investor perception. Four are marketing and investor placement. Five are issuance and trading. Six are secondary market trading, and last is redemption. Next is who are the parties involved. First is Chagamas Berhad. Second are investors. Third are underwriter or placement agents. Fourth are rating agencies. Fifth are Securities Commission of Malaysia. Sixth is dealers and brokers. And the last one is custodian banks. Next is rights, responsibilities, or obligation of each parties. First is Chagamas Berhad. Chagamas Berhad right to issue and create Chagamas commercial papers according to its funding requirements and market conditions. Then next, they also have right to determine the terms and condition of the papers, including the principal amount, maturity date, interest rate, if any, discount rate, redemption provisions, and other relevant details. Next is right to receive the funds from investor upon issuance of the papers, rights to redeem the commercial paper at maturity by repaying the face value to the investor. Second is investor. Investor got a right to purchase Chagamas commercial papers based on their investment preference and risk appetite. Right to receive interest or returns on the papers according to the agreed upon terms. Right to transfer or sell the commercial papers in the secondary market before their maturity, subject to applicable regulation and condition. Right to receive the face value of the commercial papers upon redemption at maturity. Third party are underwriter or placement agents. They got right to assist Cagamas in marketing and distributing the commercial paper to potential investor. Next is rating agencies, right to conduct independent assessment of the creditworthiness of the commercial paper, right to assign ratings based on their evaluation, providing investor with information to assess the risk associated with the papers. Fifth parties are Securities Commission of Malaysia. They got right to regulate and oversee the issuance and trading of commercial papers, right to set guidelines and regulation to ensure transparency, investor protection, and the proper functioning of the commercial paper market. Sixth party are dealer and broker. They also got a right to facilitate and secondary market trading of Cagamas commercial papers as intermediaries, right to earn brokerage or commission fees for their service in matching buyers and sellers of the papers. Last is custodian banks. They got a right to hold and safeguard the commercial papers on behalf of investor, right to receive custody fees for their services in safekeeping and maintaining record of the papers. Next, we will talk about responsibility and obligation. First party are Cagamas Berhad. They got responsibility to accurately disclose the term and condition of the commercial papers in the issuance documentation. Obligation to comply with the guidelines and regulations set forth by the Securities Commission of Malaysia. Responsibility to ensure transparency in the issuance process and provide timeline updates to investor. Obligation to make timely payments of interest or returns to investor as per the agreed upon terms. Responsibility to redeem the commercial papers at maturity by repaying the face value to the investor. Second party are investor. They got responsibility to conduct due diligence and assess the risk associated with investing in Cagamas commercial papers. Obligation to comply with the relevant regulation and requirements of the Securities Commission of Malaysia. Responsibility to provide accurate and up-to-date information required for the purchase and ownership of the commercial papers. Obligation to adhere to the terms and conditions of the papers, including any restriction on transfer or sale. Responsibility to monitor the performance of the investment and take necessary actions based on market condition and maturity dates. Third party are underwriter or placement agents. They got responsibility to provide accurate and complete information about the commercial papers to potential investor. Obligation to follow the guidelines and regulations set by the Securities Commission of Malaysia for underwriting or placement activities. Responsibility to ensure fair and equitable distribution of the commercial papers among investors. Obligation to disclose any conflicts of interest that may arise in the underwriting or placement process. Fourth party are rating agencies. They got responsibility to conduct through an independent assessment of the creditworthiness of the commercial papers. Obligation to provide accurate and objective ratings based on the evaluation of risk factors. Responsibility to promptly communicate any change or updates to the assigned rating if necessary. Fifth party are Securities Commission of Malaysia. They got responsibility to regulate and supervise the issuance and trading of commercial papers in accordance with applicable laws and regulations. Obligation to establish and enforce guidelines and requirements to ensure fair and transparent practices in the commercial paper market. Responsibility to protect the interests of investor and maintain the integrity of the market. Sixth party are dealer and broker. They got responsibility to adhere to the regulation and requirements set by the Securities Commission of Malaysia for trading activities. Obligation to act in the best interest of clients and maintain fair and transparent trading practice, responsibility to provide accurate and timely information regarding the pricing, availability, and trading of Cagamas commercial papers. 7 party are custodian banks. They got responsibility to securely hold and safeguard the commercial papers on behalf of investor. Obligation to maintain accurate records and ensure proper settlement and delivery of the papers. Next, I will explain about risk, rewards, or benefit of each parties. First party are Cagamas Berhad. They got a credit risk, liquidity risk, and market risk. Next party are investor. They got a credit risk, interest rate risk, and market risk. Third parties are underwriter or placement agents. They got a market risk and reputation risk. Fourth parties are rating agencies. They got a reputation risk. Next is Securities Commission of Malaysia. They got a regulatory risk. The sixth party are dealer and broker. They got a market risk. And the seventh party are custodians bank, while they got a custodial risk. Next is rewards or benefit to each party. First party are Cagamas Berhad. They got a benefit like access to funding, diversification of funding sources, and lower cost of borrowing, and also enhanced liquidity. Second parties is investor. They got a benefits like competitive yields, diversification, government-backed security, short-term investment option. Next parties is underwriter or placement agents. They got benefits like underwriting fees and strong relationship. Next parties is rating agencies. They got a benefits like reputation and credibility, and also market recognition. The fifth party is Securities Commission of Malaysia. They got market stability, and dealers and brokers got brokerage fees, increased trading activity. And the last one is custodian banks. They got benefits like custodial fees. What is the pricing mechanism for Cagamas commercial papers? The pricing mechanism for commercial papers, such as that potentially issued by Cagamas Berhad, typically involve two main factors: the face value of the paper and the discount rate. Commercial paper is usually issued at a discount on its face value. This means that the investor buy the paper for less than its face value. The difference between the purchase price and the face value represents the interest the investor earn. This commercial paper does not usually involve regular interest payments. Instead, the interest is paid in lump sum at maturity, reflected in the difference between the purchase price and the face value. Cagamas commercial papers are primarily traded in the secondary markets among investors. Here's an overview of how the trading of Cagamas commercial papers typically takes place. First, investor participation. Investors who hold Cagamas commercial papers have the option to trade them in the secondary market. Second are dealer and broker involvement. Dealer and broker play a crucial role in facilitating the trading of Cagamas commercial papers. They act as intermediaries between buyers and sellers, matching the interests of investors looking to buy or sell the papers. Third are marketplace and exchange. The trading of Cagamas commercial papers can occur through various marketplace or over-the-counter OTC platform. Number 4 is price negotiation. The negotiation consider factors such as prevailing market conditions, investor demand, and the creditworthiness of the papers. Fifth is settlement. Custodian banks often play a role in facilitating the settlement process and ensuring the smooth transfer of ownership. Number 6 is reporting and record keeping. Trading activity and transactions related to Cagamas commercial papers are reported and recorded by relevant parties, including the dealers, broker, and custodian banks. Is there any secondary market in Chagamas commercial papers? Yes, there is. Chagamas commercial papers are primarily traded in the secondary market, providing investors with the opportunity to buy or sell the papers before their maturity. The existence of a secondary market allows for increased liquidity and flexibility for investors. However, it's important to note that the liquidity and trading volume in the secondary market may be influenced by factors such as the creditworthiness of Chagamas, prevailing market conditions, and investor demand. Chagamas commercial papers are primarily traded in the secondary markets among investors. Here's an overview of how the trading of Chagamas commercial papers typically takes place. First, investor participation. Investors who hold Chagamas commercial papers have the option to trade them in the secondary market. Second are dealer and broker involvement. Dealer and broker play a crucial role in facilitating the trading of Chagamas commercial papers. They act as intermediaries between buyers and sellers, matching the interests of investors looking to buy or sell the papers. Third are marketplace and exchange. The trading of Chagamas commercial papers can occur through various marketplace or over-the-counter OTC platform. Number 4 is price negotiation. The negotiation consider factors such as prevailing market conditions, investor demand, and the creditworthiness of the papers. Fifth is settlement. Custodian banks often play a role in facilitating the settlement process and ensuring the smooth transfer of ownership. Number 6 is reporting and record keeping. Trading activity and transactions related to Chagamas commercial papers are reported and recorded by relevant parties, including the dealers, broker, and custodian banks. Where and how can you have access to this instrument? Access to Chagamas commercial papers can typically be obtained through the following avenues. First is primary market offerings. Chagamas Berhad periodically announces primary market offerings of its commercial papers. Information about primary market offering is typically provided through official announcements, prospectus, or offering circulars. 2 is financial institution. Many financial institutions, including banks, brokerage firms, and investment companies, may offer Chagamas commercial papers to their clients. These institutions act as intermediaries and provide access to the papers through their investment platform or as part of their fixed income product offerings. Investors can inquire with their financial institution to explore the availability of Chagamas commercial papers. The third one is secondary market trading. If an investor already holds Chagamas commercial papers, they can access the secondary market to sell or buy additional papers. The secondary market for Chagamas commercial papers operate through dealers, broker, electronic trading platform, or other marketplace. Investors can engage with these intermediaries to participate in the trading of Chagamas commercial papers. Next is how is the instrument used in a bank treasury operation. First is short-term investment. Bank can invest their excess funds in Chagamas commercial papers as a short-term investment option. Second is liquidity management. Banks may use Chagamas commercial papers to manage their liquidity needs. By holding this paper, banks have readily tradable assets that can be sold in the secondary market to meet short-term funding requirements or address liquidity shortfalls. Third are diversification of investment. Chagamas commercial paper can serve as a diversification tool for banks' investment portfolios by including these papers alongside other money market instruments, government securities, or corporate bonds. Banks split their investment risk across various asset class and issuers. Number 4 is collateral for funding. In some cases, banks may use Cagamas commercial papers as collateral to secure short-term funding from other financial institution or the central bank. These papers, backed by a government-owned institution, are considered high-quality collateral and can help bank access liquidity or risk funds in the interbank market or in central bank operation. Number 5 is risk management. Bank can utilize Cagamas commercial papers as part of their risk management strategies. For example, this paper can be used to offset or hedge interest rate risk. By holding commercial papers with different maturities, bank can manage their exposure to interest rate fluctuation and maintain a balanced interest rate risk profile. Are there any official guidelines regulating this instrument? There is. First is guidelines on issuance of commercial papers. The Securities Commission provides guidelines specify the requirements and procedures for the issuance of commercial papers. These guidelines outline the necessary documentation, disclosure requirements, and other relevant information to ensure transparency and investor protection. Second is listing requirement. If Cagamas commercial papers are listed on a stock exchange or traded on a regulated platform, they are subject to the listing requirements set forth by the respective exchange or platform. These requirements typically include criteria related to eligibility, reporting obligations, and ongoing compliance. Third is disclosure and reporting requirements. Cagamas, as the issuer of commercial papers, is required to provide accurate and timely information to investors. These include periodic financial reporting, disclosure of material information, and compliance with reporting obligations specified by the Securities Commission. Who are the regulating agencies for Cagamas commercial papers? First is Securities Commission Malaysia, SC. The Securities Commission Malaysia is the main regulatory authority responsible for overseeing and regulating the capital market in Malaysia. Second is Bursa Malaysia. Bursa Malaysia is the national stock exchange of Malaysia. It operates as a self-regulatory organization overseeing the listing, trading, and post-trade activities of securities. Third is Bank Negara Malaysia. Bank Negara Malaysia is the central bank of Malaysia. While it may not directly regulate commercial papers, it plays a significant role in overseeing the overall stability and regulation of the financial system in Malaysia.
Qatar Treasury bills are short-term debt instruments issued by the government of the state of Qatar to raise funds to meet its short-term financial needs. So, what purpose it is created? So, for the short-term financing, the Qatar government may face periodic mismatch between its revenue collection and expenditure requirements. So, issuing QTB allows the government to raise funds quickly to cover temporary budget deficits or unexpected cash outflows. So, the second one is debt management. So, by issuing short-term treasury bills, the government can diversify its debt portfolio, which may also include longer-term bonds and other debt instruments. So, diversification of debt maturities help spread the risk and reduce the reliance on long-term debt issuance. So, the third one is cash flow management. The Qatar government receives revenue from various sources throughout the year. QTB provides a mechanism to invest surplus cash efficiently until it is needed for government spending. So next is who and how it is created. So government decision. So the decision to issue QTB originates from the Qatar government, which assesses its short-term financial needs, budget requirements, and cash flow projection. If the government needs short-term funds to cover budget deficits or manage cash flow, it decides to issue QTB as a financing instrument. So the next one is allocation and issuance. So the QCB starts allocating the QTB to successful bidders, starting with the lowest yield bids and moving up the yield curve until the total value of QTB is fully allocated. So all successful bidders receive the QTB at the year specified in their bids and pay the same price which is determined by the cut-off. Who are the party involved? So first is Qatar government. The Qatar government is the issuer of treasury bills. It raises funds through this short-term debt instrument to finance its operation and meet short-term financial requirements. So second is Central Bank of Qatar. The Central Bank of Qatar (QCB) plays a crucial role in the issuance, management, and regulation of treasury bills. So it oversees the auction, sets the terms and conditions, and ensures the smooth functioning of the QTB market. The third is investors. So investors who purchase Qatar treasury bills have the right to receive interest payments if applicable and the principal amount on the maturity date. So Qatari citizens, residents, and eligible foreign investors may participate in purchasing these bills through auction or other approved channel. Who are the party involved? Firstly, primary dealers. So primary dealers are financial institutions authorized by the central bank to participate directly in the auction process for Qatar treasury bills. So they have certain rights and responsibilities in buying and selling these bills on behalf of their clients and for their own position. So secondly is financial institution. Besides primary dealers, other financial institutions like banks, investment firms, and asset managers may participate in the secondary market, trading KTB among themselves and with investors. So the responsibility or obligation of each parties. So for the Qatar government, the responsibility is the government primary responsibility is to honor the obligations associated with the treasury bills it issues. This includes making timely interest payment if applicable and repaying the principal amount to the investors upon maturity. So the second one is Central Bank of Qatar. The central bank's role is to regulate the issuance, trading, and management of Qatar treasury bills. So third one is investors. So the investors have the responsibility to truly understand the terms and conditions of the QTB. They are purchasing, including the maturity date and any applicable interest rate. So the fourthly is primary dealers. Primary dealers act as intermediaries between the central bank and other financial institutions or investors. So lastly is financial institution. Financial institutions that participate in the secondary market trading of QTB have the responsibility to facilitate smooth transaction and provide liquidity. Reward or benefit to each party. So for Qatar government, short-term financing. QTB provide the government with access to short-term financing that allow the government to meet its immediate financial needs, such as covering budget deficits or funding public projects without committing to long-term debt obligations. So, Central Bank of Qatar. Market stability. The central bank's involvement in managing QTB ensures stability in the market for these instruments, promoting confidence among investors and financial institutions. Is there any secondary market? Yes, there are secondary market in Qatar treasury bills, but Qatar treasury bills are not actively traded in a well-developed secondary market. So the primary market for QTB involve auction conducted by the Central Bank of Qatar, where elegant primary dealers and financial institutions bid for the issuance of new QTB. How does the instrument used in the bank operation? So liquidity management. So treasury bills are short-term debt instruments with maturities typically ranging from a few days to 1 year. So banks can invest in Qatar treasury bills to manage their short-term liquidity needs. When banks have excess funds, they can invest in treasury bills to earn interest while ensuring that their funds remain easily accessible and can be quickly converted to cash when needed. Secondly, risk management. Treasury bills are considered relatively safe and low-risk investments, especially when issued by stable government like Qatar. So banks can use treasury bills as part of their risk management strategy to hedge against potential losses in other riskier assets or to balance out their overall portfolio risk. Are there any official guidelines? Yes. So the first one is interest rate determination. The QCB sets the interest rate for QTB based on prevailing market conditions and the central bank's monetary policy objective. So this helps ensure that the yield on QTB are competitive and reflect the current economic environment. Second one is eligibility criteria. The QCB defines the eligibility criteria for participating in QTB auction, including requirements for primary dealers and investors. So this ensures that only qualified and authorized entities can participate in the primary market. Who are the regulating agencies? First one is regulating banks. The QCB regulates and supervises all banks operating in Qatar, including both domestic and foreign banks. It sets guidelines and standards for their operations, capital adequacy, risk management, and compliance with anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing measures. So second one is monetary policy. The QCB formulate and implement monetary policy to achieve its objective, which include maintaining price stability, supporting economic growth, and ensuring financial stability. So the last one is foreign exchange management. The QCB manages Qatar's foreign exchange reserve and implements foreign exchange policies.